Sunday morning to you is January 5th, 2025, and our prompt today is number 5, depth. So, for me personally, this one was kind of a no-brainer, and I did some work off camera because there was some really fiddly cutting with a craft knife, and I didn't want to slip and, end up in the hospital. So to convey the concept of depth a little bit anyway, I made a little title plate, and we're watching me ink the edges up, which we will both find out later was totally unnecessary. But hey, it's Sunday, who cares? So my idea to convey depth is to mount that little title plate under a stack of two cards. One you're not going to see. The one with the darkened oval is just a spacer. This one I covered in book plate just to have a jumping off place, and I am preparing it to wrap the margins or the tabs into the back of it as you do, and then what we will do is glue them together with the title plate or the title sheet underneath, and we will create some depth. Or at least that's what I hope will happen. I'm using the wildly expensive Fabrifix for this part because that piece that I'm working on is already wet from PVA glue, but I'm trying to speed this along, so I decided I would, combat the wet glue warped cardboard syndrome by gluing the tabs down with a little bit of Fabrifix. And then we will proceed on to the next step. I would have liked to have stacked more than 2 pieces of cardboard into this piece and made it maybe 4 or 5 layers deep, but that's an oval, and if you're freehand cutting an oval, you run the risk of sliding your blade right off into your thumb, and I didn't feel like coping with that this morning, so I chose not to. And the next thing we're going to do is, when we set this aside, we're going to put the little title plate on. Well, no, apparently I edged this as well and forgot that I did it already. For the last 2 makes, I have edged things rather than shaded them because I kind of got tired of the shaded look after a while. If you've been following along, you may have heard me mention that the pages for the inside of the journal are starting to get a little tatty looking or a little grungy looking from handling, and I kind of decided that I'll just minimize the use of walnut stain, and that might help. I might actually spray fixative on my pages before I do any more, just to try and avoid all that finger smudging from shaded pages and whatnot. So Fabrifix again, we're putting the book plate down under the oval, and then we will set them both aside to dry. Fabrifix is going to dry much faster, but the book page piece is wet glue and it will take a little longer. So once we've done that, throw a piece of paper over it, weight it down with something, that's not going to tip over, and we'll wait for our glue to dry. So, back in a half hour. 5 editing software crashes later, we're going to put our front oval onto the backer that has the outline and the title plate on, and using Fabri-Tac again, so that we'll speed this along. We will get this affixed down, and I think I might want to clamp it down, but I don't remember now if I actually did or not. So let's see if I did. When I watch my Fabri-Tac glue disappear from the bottle, I feel sometimes like I am looking at a gas pump, because this is not PVA glue, which you can get for $1.50 almost anywhere. So the reason I'm relying on Fabri-Tac for these paper parts is because it dries faster than PVA glue, but it also has some extra wiggle time. It's gel like for a few minutes before it sets up, and that gives me time to straighten things out a little bit and make sure that bottom card is not showing on the side of this. And we're going to do the same thing we just did. Weight it down and wait for a half an hour and come back and finish decorating. Almost done. So now we're going to take our front title framed gizmo that's supposed to give us some depth, and we're going to see where we need to space it so that we can mount it on the front cover. Keeping in mind, we're not actually affixing our front covers to our tab binding until the closer to the end, so that we can work in our book without putting stress and strain on the spine. And I am going to pad the open end of the spine with a couple of my trusty dusty Cracker Box flaps and a big clamp. And if you've not been here before, I always put some kind of cardboard in between my book and my clamp, especially the bigger clamps, to make sure that it doesn't leave dents. And I'm just checking my upholstery patch fabric to make sure that my faux tabs are going to wrap all the way around. And now I'm checking my measurements to see, how big this thing ended up being and give me a better idea of placement. And I considered putting another spacer on the back of the little frame there to pop it up even more, but in the end it doesn't matter, and will probably just get in the way. So here we go. I am going to glue this down with good old Fabri-Tac and put it under a weight as I have for the other pieces, and then we will look at the final project piece and take our final photo. And here's our final photo with our title piece that says "My Tatty Little Journal, Junk Journal January," and I will stamp 2025 in there later on because I don't want to smear the ink with handling it. This is kind of a twist on Trompe l'oeil painting, where if you don't know what that is, it's very dimensional painting. It uses a flat paint, but the way that light and shadow is played with makes the painting look very 3D. And so I just mimicked that with some framing and some shading. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that you are settled now into some kind of routine point in your day where you can set aside an hour or two, or maybe only 20 minutes, and work in your journal and produce something that makes you smile. Tomorrow's prompt is emboss, and truth be told, I could skip that day because there is a piece of embossed handmade paper already in my second accordion fold section. But I'm going to try and avoid, slouching through the prompt this early in the challenge. So tomorrow it may be something with handmade paper. It may be something with embossing powder. Could be both. I don't know. Stick around and find out. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope this sparked your curiosity and your creativity. And I hope to see you again tomorrow. God bless. See you soon.